Thank you very much, Program Director. Thank you, Naku Siswam. Uye wandicho. Omnyumdu, omnyumdu obe mamele yonke lento. Inobe becuma akuzuthetha umntu apha irate uqobo lwayo. Mandibulise to the board of directors of the station, chairperson, the board, management of the station, ngokhokelwa ngumntakatshani uZwai. Ndibulise kwiindwendwe zonke ezikhoyo apha phakathi kwethu ezixube nomama lo wakuthi ndihamba naye. Ndibulise kubantu bam abasasazi. Molweni basasazi. Maybe I should start with congratulating UCRFM for achievement enkulu kangaka. 28 years ayondwana. Izitishi ebezikhona eziqale kunye nani azisekho ezinye zazo. Ezinye zibakho ziphinde zingabikho, ziyavula ziyavala. So ndithi mandinincome kwelo cala. I want also to congratulate the recipients of the certificates. Well done. I still call you colleagues because igazi lam lisabaleka iradio. I had no choice. You know, about 10 years ago, EUCRFM was sitting at 439,000 listeners. That was around not 10 years. It could be something like 14 years because I remember 2008, 2009. And then maybe I should give you a picture of what is happening in the industry at radio at the moment. We have 63 million adults in South Africa. Ndiyathanda ku-deviate from the prepared speech because xa ndithetha nge-radio it comes from the heart. Now, kule 63 million, there's 43.5 million radio listeners, right? Now, when you have 43.5 radio listeners and you have around 250 radio stations in South Africa. So, as izitishi zonke zi 250 zilwa ngale audience of 43.5. Hayi noba umuntu ondive radioweni lo. Now, that tells you ukuthi, but kuyo yonke loo nto, when you look at each and every radio station, you will find that every radio station is where it was 10 years ago in terms of audiences. And the question is why? Right. There's 2 radio stations of note. Kuyo yonke le nto ndithetha ngayo. The other one is the fastest growing radio station. The other one is the fastest declining radio station. The fastest growing radio station, 5-6 years ago, it was sitting at 735,000 listeners. Today, it's sitting at 2 million listeners. That's Radio 2000. Right? The fastest declining radio station. Okay. The fastest declining radio station in 2019, 2020, it was sitting at 5.8 million listeners. From 2021 to date, it's sitting at 4.2 million listeners. And that is Umhlobo NNFM. Akchomna. Numbers don't lie. So, when I took over Umhlobo, 2012, it was on 3.7 million listeners. And that was the time EUCR was on 439, among the biggest community radio stations in South Africa. Now you have this radio station that is sitting at that level. It better nezitishi as national, as a regional. And then now my task was to grow the station, of course, revenue-wise and audiences. So the first thing one would do is to look at which station is going to be an obstacle towards the growth sifunai. And unfortunately, EUCR was among them. And I'll tell you why. Umhlobo was losing audiences in the rural areas. Big time. Now, you see, when you are a station manager, there is a temptation, right, to run the station towards the direction of your personal lifestyle. That is very tempting. And you can easily do that because you have the power to do so. Now, when you lose a rural audience, you know what it means. It means you are losing your power base. You might as well start the station from scratch, on a power base, because many people from the rural areas do not have access to many radio stations. Now, if we are going to neglect rural areas and focus on urban, semi-urban and metropolitan areas, we are going to collapse. Why? Because you don't have a base. As a teacher, because you need to convince rural audience to become loyal to you and then grow the station from there. And then you will have an opportunity to look at other areas as far as metropolitan. You look at that and begin to compete with your metros and all of that, at least on a base. That's where you lost it. We lost it. Now, what I'm trying to say, there's an opportunity for UCRFM to reflect and say, what is it that we were doing at the time? We were very successful, that we are not doing now. And what is the strategy going forward? That's the task, your board and the management. When you were at 439, you were taking advantage of the death of Umhlobo then. Here is Umhlobo going down again. Don't you see any opportunity to go back where you were? Check where Umhlobo is suffering. Is it not in the rural areas again, where you have a footprint? And then what now? Bendiyazi into yokuba xa ndithetha apha uMC noba sendibekele ixesha uzathi xa kufikela ixesha lam loba libe liyaphela athi hayi qhuba asingxamanga. Now iradio ifuna ujonga amathuba. You must understand what is happening in the external environment. You are going to look internally. Kanti ubethakala ngaphandle. You need to understand apha kwi-industry uba kwenzeka ntoni na, so that ujonge ukuthi where you can actually take advantage. In the process of doing that, there are three things that are key in radio that you must understand. And all of that is the first one. You must understand the lifestyle of the people you are serving. That's one. Because if you don't, you are going to shoot blanks. Secondly, you must understand their behavioral patterns, how they behave, because you will never be able to create a programming that is going to resonate with them. You know, if I can make an example, if you don't understand the behavioral patterns abantu, when you do i-programming yakho, uzawuthatha i-program kaMasikhandi uyifake ngo-6 ekuseni, when people are not in the mood to jump out of bed and dance. Naturally, akho mntu unovuka ngo-6 ajive. So that's why I want you to understand i-behavioral patterns zabantu. Ukuthi, is it natural na into yoba ungamamela that type of music at that time? Secondly, chances of missing them because they are not available. high. Why? Because generally, people coming from a Friday, they sleep very late because Saturday ayomini umsebenzi kubantu abaninzi. So are they going to wake up early? No. They are going to find time to rest. So who is going to listen to that at that time? You see? It's very important. Thirdly, you need to understand their movements. Now, one of the things that is a threat to UCR that I think you will never have an answer for, which is what is happening in the external environment. And that is migration. Now, you have people moving from the rural areas because there is no job opportunities. Ne? And they move to metropolitan urban areas. And when they get there, wena awukwazi bafumana because unless mhlambe bakwi internet and all of that. But chances of them being absorbed by other radio stations are very high. That is why at Umhlobo when we discovered Uguti, there is this issue of migration that is affecting the station Eastern Cape. We had East Sekapa, Gauteng, and all of that, so that those people don't lose the touch of Umhlobo. Now, as Zinto, if you don't understand them, abe radioing, ndiyacela yeke iradio. Hamba mboba i-mailness okanye uyoba i-accountant. If you don't understand those three things. Now, it's time for UCR to begin to innovate. You know, I understand you. The problem that the station is in terms of audiences is exactly what I experienced. So the station can go back to where it was. All that is needed is innovation. The Funushia Unishia again have 4 types of innovation. And I will give examples where I can. You have a programming schedule, Mr. Programs Manager. When you look at the entire schedule, you identify certain programs that will need what is called incremental innovation, right? And cluster them. Those programs, as for the incremental innovation, you look at them and say, okay, there is not much that we need to change there. But as we go along, we'll change a feature here and there. Just to give it a boost and make it have something new and fresh, even if I'll change into. In the same schedule, you have shows that you are going to put into the basket. of semi-radical innovation. It is strong? Yeah, now, when you say this one, they belong to the category layer, semi-radical innovation. Maybe the music is not right, let's change it. Or the other content other than music is not right, let's change it. Or the presenter, right? Because kukho lento kuthiwa i-presenter program compatibility. Iyabetha ke laa nto because you take a certain presenter and put this presenter in a particular program, kanti azihlangani. And then you say this presenter is failing, kanti nguwe misplaced. So it's important ukuthi when it's semi-radical ujonge zonto ba yephi into ethile endinoyisusa ndiyitshintshe apha ndifake othile. And then you have radical. Ake le program ifuna uqala ekuqalweni. In fact, from today iyaphela. Yonke into yayo nomuntu wayo. It's gone. I'm going to put something new. That's radical. So uyayibona ke yonke lento isusela kweza 3 movements, lifestyle, behavioral patterns. Here's a guide, because we've got to study what is happening in the external environment in order to craft a programming strategy that is going to suit that. Listener first. Now, the last innovation, disruptive innovation. Ndiyayithanda ke leyo. Because yandinceda mna. But it's not the kind of innovation that you can do ungekho comfortable nge-audience growth yakho. Sizawuthi zizinto zezitishi ezidalayo ezi-grand. Uqonda ya ngoku umsebenzi wami izawuba ku-disruptor ezinye izitishi. And that's what we did to UCR. We disrupted the UCR. We disrupted the Alfred Nzo because there's a strong rural areas and we wanted to penetrate the rural areas. Sakoma masithathe phakuzo. Sizophula umqolo. That's one. Number 2, when you look at what is happening between Kokstad, Uzoma ngomthatha, you could see ukuthi Ukhozi is making inroads. Right? So, one of the reasons why Ukhozi was making inroads were Fumanswa, your Kokstad, Bizana, Lusikisiki, Manfred, so it's easy So it was penetrating up to here. We had to disrupt them. And we used 2 people to do that. One of them was the late Sabambitlan. And then the second one was his replacement, Ukudla. We said, look, Ukhozi, their main music genre, umaskandi. Let's beat them there and frustrate them. And use Isatma Awards to frustrate them. As a result, we won Isatma Awards for 14 consecutive years. Kumculo wabo. So even the artists zezapha. But we beat them. Because we were focused. And Ukudla wa join. He did the same thing. And then after, and then Balala. They dropped the ball. Now, let me tell you how we dethroned Metro FM. Go 2012, 2013, Metro, market share in Metro Eastern Cape was sitting at 22%. (22% Eastern Cape market share. Now that became a threat. When you are a station manager, you analyze as ondo, bang phazamisapi, because apa uphethe mna. So I realized no, 22% is a lot. So let's do something about it. I'm talking about a disruptive innovation. Dabiz Bulelan. Bulelan. Ikhona into endiyibonayo apha eyenzekayo that I think we need to act. Nambona the late Bulelan Koyo. Yes. So we need to act. So Metro is an ordinary radio station for the whole week. It sleeps for the whole week and wake up on a Sunday. On any other day, it is ordinary. But Sunday, ayavuka. And it's very difficult to compete with them on a Sunday. They're very strong. Because banala bomb squad. Italango, yeah, konke uyomango 6. So I said, Kukoy, look, we are going to take 4 hours just to disrupt them. 2 hours a choral on a Sunday, okay? And he said to me, a choral and competing with Metro, zidibana phi Mr. Mnci that now. Let me tell you what is happening in the external environment with regard to choral. A choral is growing, right? And if you look at it now, it starts from the primary. right? Ine-competitions as a primary, even competitions as a high school. And then when they graduate from high school, they go to adult choirs, right? And look at their age. Ile age group ye metro. Ile target audience ye metro. So let us take 2 hours between 1 and 3. Wena hamba uyo recorder ichoirs zesikolo across the Western Cape and the Eastern Cape. Urecord adult choirs. Uzidlala apha enkqubeni. Xa uzawuzidlala uqala uchaza ilist. Ye choirs ozawuzidlala. By doing that, la age group is choiring must miss imetro. It decide yona ba ifuna umamela yona na okanye ifuna umamela imetro. So masiyekele kubo basidecide, but wena funda list qha yazo zonke ikwayiro zazikhupha athi xa ima, because chances are xa ezivile into yoba kuzawukhutsha ikwayira yakhe uzawumamela, and she will phone others athi ze nimamele sizawuphuma. Now imetro iyalala. 2, second one, we created a new program as Siltandwin. Do you remember that? Sunday between 11 and 1. Bizu City, bizu Popilunga Laf. Mamelange people. We are all out to disrupt metro. Remember, Ishoka Koyo ngela xesha, it was sitting at 640,000, right? Lena I program says I introduce between 11 and 1. Ngela xesha kudlala jazz. Susi jazz le. So ifaka ebusuku, ndiyeva ba ibuyile. Susi jazz so idlala ebusuku. But yeah, it's the same problem of running his show and miss your target audience because they are not available. Now, we say, let's come up with a new program. This program, if you look at the metro, they play music, and it's R&B, love songs, big time. Yongela afternoon ya Sunday. Now, let's come very close to them after a choral. Immediately after choral, makungenet le show yenu. Don't play too much music there, live music. Go for love stories. People must decide whether they want to listen to this beautiful story of love, say a couple, or music that I can even listen on my phone later. Now, so as a love stories, you take celebrities, ordinary people, everybody, go to an extent of going to broadcast as Zabo. Choose a particular celebrity or a couple, go and broadcast in People want to hear that. Then the music, because the metro is playing music. So, the 4 hours, Ukoyo, I remember the day that show went to 1.2 million. Ukoyo wayengxola apha emoyeni esithi I'm a millionaire. Bekukho lo competition ke emhlobo. You know, once your show reaches a million, then you kuthiwa a millionaire. So ke Ukoyo ke wajoina imbillionaires. This show was new, it went to 1.2 million as well. Now, guess what happened? Metro became number 3. Umhlobo became number 2, the biggest radio station in South Africa. Now, look at this. The program ye choral ngoku isebusuku. The program ye jazz isemini. The show eqhubayo between 9 and but le show nayo ingatithetha ngozothando kwatshintshwa no kwatshintshwa abasasazi. Okay, then what happened? Metro is back to number 2. You see, Metro is number 2. It's the second biggest radio station. It was number 2 before, and Saikuba. Yangu number 3, Sangu number 2. Now Umhlobo is number 3. So sometimes you need to be very strategic when you create a programming, and you can't just say, hey, why? You must have a reason and a strategy. That's what radio is all about. One last thing that I want you to understand about radio is that kufika umama the late Reverend Kwekane ekume office. Siyancokola mos thethe radio. Uthi kum, hey Maya, le nkqubo sanda introduce la nkqubo yakhe yasekuseni, Monday to Thursday. From 3 a.m. Yes, from 3 a.m. to 5:30. So, ayiqale ke sisuse yonke mosilanto mosine esazandulela senkonzo into zonke zanzasenzeka pha. So sifaka le, and we want this program to appeal ebantwini emotionally. Now ayenze ke abuye ke azongixelela uba no, this thing okay ubona i-programs ezakhula zangapha kwe-million estation zaba yi-17. Now out of that 17, one was on 3.1, which was the PEE, and then the second one yiyo yodwa ewelele u-3 million. Then as go 2 million, it was ukholo nengqiqo 2.7, uMagama Asi ngolesine 2.2, ukudla 2.2, nezinye ke, and then ezinye ke ziko 1 point something, imvuselelo 1.7, 1.8, somewhere there. So ngoku worried ukuthi i-program yakhe ayikhuli, so she struggling to become a millionaire. So afike ngixakekile ezokhalazela, hey ayilungi le nto le program, that no, izawulunga. It's just that sisanda uchinja apha, so people, they adapt kade kwinto edibene ne-change and all of that. But let's meet again tomorrow. We'll discuss further. I can Tiban Fundi. Wow. So I'm trying to tell you that radio ifuna innovation. So this program is new and yes, Sokolis, but it can grow. Maybe we need to force people to listen to it. Force. Naya. Wasbanyanzele. Okay. Wabuza ke lumbuzo nibuza iba how. So I said, look, let's look around our programming schedule. A feature or a program that we can drop at that time, that we know it is popular and people are going to listen to it. Guess what we did? What did we do? You'll never believe it. Satati mipanga. You know why? The audience emipanga can follow emipanga. It doesn't matter no being obani. Ixesha. Because the audience emipanga ile in a radio aba kwi pedestal. Right? That's why it's important to understand what is happening in lifestyle yabantu ne behavioral patterns. That's what I was talking about. The audience emipanga and isikakhulu ngabantu abadala. Right? Now, abantu abadala, they determine which station must play endlini yabo. Uyayif? So that is why abantwana besithi bakhule bemamela isiteshi esithile. It's because of abantu abadala. Asitshintshwa. So that ke thatha le mipanga. Ungayifundi yonke. Fundi mebibini. Ufake le content intsha. Phinde uhambe uyofaka emibini abantu baye bazawuhlala umuntu alinde umphanga wakhe ungekaphumi nje akazuyeka. And then he break yonke lemiphanga iyofika pha ku half 5 2 at a time. In between, play this content. They are going to get used to it. Once they get used to it, they will love it. Within a year, that show was on 1.1 million. And when that happened, I said, "Mastade give me panga so ibusela ku 22.9 wow." Because the mission has been accomplished. That's radio for you. So that is, you see, as long as you understand what is happening around you, you'll be able to craft amaqhinga radio because we are born back when secondary. And you become relevant all the time. That is radio. You can do it. You can go back to where you were. Start to innovate. I don't want to go to the basics of radio because that's a workshop for elinye ixesha. we can sit down and discuss, because that's the starting point. But innovation is the name of the game in radio. Thank you very much.